Okay, guys, we'll get started if that's okay. So a massive welcome to this evening's session, which is the DAXI newbie presentation, which is crypto for beginners. So we assume for this session that most people that dial in don't know a huge amount about crypto. Often it's their first opportunity to hear about it and get involved. So look, we hope that today will be of interest to you. I've got a few slides, so let me just start those from start. So today's information is correct as of our live presentation, which is Monday the 13th of July. We will also make this presentation available on Listen Again, so I know lots of people listen again, and indeed even people that hear it live often go back through the recording just for anything that they've missed. So a quick disclaimer, the information I'm going to give you in the course of this presentation is not investment advice, financial or trading advice, rather it's education and inspiration, and generally background about crypto and about DAXI as a business. So for those of you that are listening live, I don't know if you've used Zoom before, but there is a chat function at the bottom. So if you want to interact or make comments, if anything particularly speaks to you, or you've got a question, feel free to just jot it down. You can pose it to the entire room, or if you're feeling a little bit shy, you can pose it just to me. And obviously I won't say who's asked. So particularly if you're a beginner, I know there's probably every one thing you hear about crypto often raises another 15 questions we find. So welcome to DAXI. DAXI is a fintech business. We're a crypto platform. We enable people to buy and hold their crypto and grow their wealth and get involved in crypto in a safe, secure and easy way. We're very unique as a crypto platform for a couple of reasons. The first is that we are massively education led. So we put out huge amounts of free education around crypto themes, generally intended to those who are new to crypto. And we try and do that in a fun and jargon free way. There's nothing worse than death by PowerPoint or loads of complicated graphs. So we try and keep it very accessible and very light-hearted. So over the course of this presentation, we will cover the basics of crypto, how it works, why it's around, why it's making such phenomenal gains generally, how you can make money out of it and what to avoid. Obviously, there's a huge amount of companies and products that are not reputable. So we'll talk about how to keep yourself safe and of course, you know, have a bit of an eye to what's going on out there, where we're at in the investment cycle, and lastly, how you can get involved. So a quick run through of where we can be seen as a business. DAXI is considered to be an authority in the crypto space. So some of these titles are places that you'll see us providing press commentary. So actually for what I do, I'm MD in the UK and Ireland. I probably get asked for press commentary every couple of days. So whether that's specialist crypto press or fintech press or mainstream press, we're often asked about crypto themes or where the market's going or how people can make money. So we're very pleased with that. Really, we're now seen as an authority in the space. If you don't follow us on social media, whatever flavor you like, whether you like Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, we put out loads and loads of content that you can have a look at. So please do follow us on whatever channel you like. So the reason that we are talking to lots of people who are new to crypto, particularly in the UK, is that we really are in the middle of a substantial wealth crisis. So unless you've fallen down a well for the last couple of months, we are widely held to be in a recession. My colleague Squid, who is on this call, puts out loads of content around what he sees the world as and what's going on. But very briefly, we are obviously in some very troubling times. We saw 25% wiped off the stock market as coronavirus hit, sort of middle of March. And in terms of the FTSE 100, which is obviously a great health check for our economy, it's the top 100 traded companies, that's down about 20% this year. And look, that's often seen as a health check for the UK economy. And of course, many of our vanilla financial investments, pensions, etc., are based on that. So we've probably seen around $9 trillion wiped off stock markets globally. And weirdly, crypto has had a phenomenal run both this year to date and since coronavirus. We'll talk a bit about that in due course. There's a real sense that the financial infrastructure is not fit for purpose. And each and every day, there's a real sense that it's got to be replaced with something a bit more technologically up to date. And it would appear that crypto is the heir apparent. So at the same time as our economy and stocks and shares not doing so well, which is true both for the FTSE 100 and for property markets, obviously our base rate is at a record low. So the Bank of England base rate is 0.1, which, to be clear, in a couple of hundred years it's existed, is the lowest rate ever. So really bad news for savers. If you look at some of the comparison websites, which I pulled this from, the best rate you'll get on easy access savings account is typically between 0.5% and 0.75%. So obviously with inflation outstripping that, and we are anticipating an extended recession, they're already talking about taxation rates going up, there's talk about negative interest rates. Really some quite challenging times, and particularly for my generation, the idea that you'll have to write the bank a cheque for looking after your money is quite bizarre. And of course, they then lend out your money a few times over. The other thing, of course, we see is that property isn't doing so well. This is a graph of average house prices in the UK. So obviously we had a general financial crash in 2008. It took until 2015/2016 for those prices to recover. And right now those buy-to-let yields are very low. So I remember 10 years ago, there was a lot of chat about buying investment property and you could probably give up the day job and live off that as income. That obviously right now is not looking so great. The yields are very low. The deposits are very high, particularly where I'm from, just outside London. You're looking at £50,000–60,000 to invest in property. And for many of our customers that are using our platform, they're typically putting anything between £3,000 and £10,000 on the platform. So typically they wouldn't have enough money to get involved in buy-to-let property. And many of our customers use DAXI as if it was a savings account. So just putting incremental amounts of money in to grow their wealth. And I think particularly with those people that typically were interested in property, it really does look like we're in for quite a extended contraction in that market. So I know that on commercial properties, it's said that about 20% of people paid their rent in the last quarter. Obviously some real problems with the retail market, and even in residential properties. I know that when they surveyed 1,000 renters recently, around 40% of tenants said that they'll be struggling to pay their rent in the coming months, which of course has got a knock-on effect on landlords. And I think there's a real sense we're not quite sure how bad things are yet. Obviously we've had lots of mortgage holidays in the UK. Until recently, you could take 3 months off without any fear of any credit rating issues. And of course, an enormous amount of people in the UK are furloughed right now. So it's very difficult to tell how those unemployment rates are going to look. So I always say that there's only 3 reasons why people buy crypto. Many of our customers are for the first time swapping some of their cash to crypto, so swapping their British pounds and their fiat currency into the crypto coins. And there's only 3 reasons for that, and that is growth, growth, and growth. So crypto has been the best performing asset on the face of the planet, over gold, over silver, over stocks and shares. And that's true both for this year to date and also since coronavirus. So very interestingly, the crypto, particularly the ones we focus on, which are Bitcoin, Litecoin and Ethereum, have outperformed really anything else since coronavirus hits. They've recovered harder, faster and better. So for that reason, lots of people, whether they're private retail investors or the big institutional investors, are very much starting to take crypto seriously. So these figures are year to date. So Ethereum's gone up over 90%, Bitcoin's gone up over 30%, Litecoin has gone up 12%. The DAX coin today is 10% up year to date, and as of midnight tonight, it will be 25% up. We're actually having a price increase today. So really good news for people that use our platform that have been in for a while, obviously seeing some really, really phenomenal gains. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the coins that DAXI focuses on and why in a few slides' time. So if you're starting to get into crypto, this presentation is intended to be an introduction to some of the themes that you may wish to look at and some of the reasons that you might wish to consider crypto. So there's a lot of chat about some of the gains that are expected in crypto in the next 6 to 12 months. And unusually our exchange is really built for people that are looking to hold. So you can use our exchange for trading, but the vast majority of people that use DAXI typically are looking to stay in for 6, 12, 18 months, something like that. So a lot of chat around these coins seeing a 10 to 20-fold growth over the next year or two is based on them being used instead of gold. So you'll often hear crypto being talked about as a better version of money, and particularly Bitcoin's often talked about as interchangeable with gold because it's a great way of conveying value. So at the moment, gold is approximately an $8 trillion market. And if even just a few % of that audience switched to Bitcoin, you would see a 10-fold growth. And interestingly, you'll tend to see that Bitcoin and gold move in tandem. So again, if you start doing your research, DAX as a business talks often about this tenfold increase in the next 6 to 18 months. And again, broadly across the industry, we are anticipating phenomenal growth in the near term. And I think there's a lot of talk, we believe very strongly that another phenomenal wave is coming. It's to do with waves of adoption, and I'll be talking a bit about that today. But we're a firm believer that the opportunity that exists today for people to make enormous amounts of money just won't be there in a couple of years' time. So there's a huge amount of growth into the 2017 period that tailed off, and we feel that we're at the base of another substantial growth curve. So just a quick rattle through what these technologies actually mean and who's using them. So blockchain is the foundation for crypto. It underpins cryptocurrencies, and it's very simply a new type of database. It's been around for ages, been around for a number of decades. We've come up with from some academics, which then found it quite challenging to work out where to use it. But fast forward to today, you'll see blockchain across a huge number of industries, whether it's finance, agriculture, health tech, logistics, retail. There's enormous amounts of use cases, and this little graphic from Forbes shows that some of the world's largest companies are using it. So very much a proven technology, which is fantastic. Personally for me, DAX is actually my third business in blockchain. I've advised 2 companies, one which was to do with tokenization, one which is actually a health tech company. Those are recently valued at 15.4 and 5 million sterling respectively. And now I'm working with DAXI. I've obviously been working with blockchain personally for a while now. So looking at some of the companies that are coming to the table, I think it's a very fair question to say, is crypto real? If I buy some, where do I get to spend it in the future? Who will buy it from me? And look, I think people that were buying Bitcoin in 2017 and seeing 1,000+% growth were real brave, massively pioneers. But I think today there's a lot more evidence that not only is that technology gathering momentum, it really is here to stay. So if you look at some of the world's biggest payment businesses, MasterCard is working on crypto wallet projects. Visa, you can actually pay in crypto today via Coinbase, and they're also investing in funding various crypto startups. If you look at PayPal, which is live in 200 countries, they've got patents in this area. And some of these massive retail businesses, eBay is talking about accepting Bitcoin on their platform. And you can actually spend it today at Amazon, Starbucks and Uber via Fold. So these retail businesses are going to spend tens of millions of pounds updating their platforms. They're not doing that for love of it. They're doing it because they know it's technology that's coming. And I think if you look at the UK, I can remember before chip and pin, I can remember when you would take a credit card to guarantee a check and you had that little cool machine. So really the cryptos are just another wave of disruption, and that adoption is here. And if you look at that on a much broader basis, you'll see that what we call the big boys are getting involved. So the Davos meeting every year, which is 3,000 business leaders, prime ministers, economists talking about the global economy. They actually reported last year that lots of the central banks, which is the bank of each country, are looking at working with this technology. And that includes our very own Bank of England. So it's very likely that even if you don't get involved in these cryptos, it is highly likely that many of these banks are looking at digitizing their currencies. In fact, they say that around 80% of them are. So very much technology which is here to stay. And I think because the argument for crypto is a better, faster, quicker, cheaper way of moving value. Unsurprisingly, it's solving a lot of problems. It's saving people a lot of money. So if you look at Bitfinance, they moved $1.1 billion worth of Bitcoin. And that at the time was the largest transaction to date. And that cost less than $1. And some of these businesses that you've probably heard of, BlackRock, which is the world's largest asset manager by volume, they've got just shy of $7 trillion under management. They very, very vocally talking about blockchain. Citi and JP Morgan obviously are tier 1 banks. DTCC is by a long way the highest financial value processor in the world. That's a business to do with clearing securities. They too use it. And you'll also see a lot of the hedge funds talking very actively about Bitcoin being a good idea. So I think a good example of that is Paul Tudor Jones, who's a really famous hedge fund, saying that Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation. So all these businesses that have, people on payroll paid millions that need to know what the next big thing is, very much talking about these technologies. And if you follow us on social media, we very often reshare press articles just showing who's coming to the table. So in conclusion, we know that Bitcoin has done very well. This is a life cycle pretty much since the beginning. And you'll see that there has been volatility. So we believe that we are due a substantial boom. You can see that there's been a number of growth metrics there, which is great. And obviously it does tend to correct after a boom. But you'll notice that after every boom, there is a crash, but that crash is always higher than the last. And particularly if you look at daily volumes, sorry, these figures are a few weeks out of date. There are tens of billions worth of dollars traded every day. So it's a very liquid market. So for people that buy Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum through us, as with any other exchange, you can trade. So if you do need to think, actually, I need to get out of that, I need some of that money back, we have the ability to sell that. And for any reason you need to liquidate, you can. So look, each of those booms has had an 1,000% growth, which is fantastic. And we talk about this fifth boom, which is being generated by all those institutional investors. So that is the reason why we're very focused on the coins, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum, because we know those are the ones that the institutions talk about. This particular graph is from an ebook that we have, which is free. So if you haven't got a copy of it, do get hold of it. It's called the Crypto Boom ebook. It's completely free. It will take you like 10 minutes to read it. So if you haven't got it, do get hold of it from whoever introduced you to Daxi. So look, the reason why we are so focused on crypto is we know that there is a huge amount of variety out there. There's actually now around 5,700 cryptocurrencies. But we're very focused on what we know are the reputable ones. So look, those blue chip cryptos, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, are always 60% plus of daily traded volume. So just say that again, there's 5,700 cryptocurrencies, and there's 3 of them which are 60 to 70% of everything that gets bought and sold every single day. So yeah, I think if you are starting to look at crypto, you have to be very focused on which coins you're buying and why, and particularly for Daxi as a business, we've done that homework. And I'll show you some of the performances that we've had from those coins in a couple of slides' time. So a bit more information on what Daxi does. If crypto is of interest to you, there's obviously a number of platforms out there that you can use. And we aim to be the premier business, both for education and in terms of usability for people that are new to the business. So we're a digital asset exchange. That means that you can buy, hold and exchange crypto for your British pounds amongst a number of other currencies through us. And we're made for retail investors. We're not really aiming what we do at traders, although some people do trade through our platform. Many of the platforms are based in weird and wacky places. So unusually we are licensed in the UK, licensed in Europe, and we have offices in the UK. We're based in Oxford. I would normally be working out of there, but of course, due to lockdown, we're not currently. We're the only exchange that has the education, the community to support people that use our platform. And we believe we've got the largest client services team per client of any crypto business. And we've got these phenomenal plans for our community coin, which focus on crowdfunding. So we intend to pioneer in the near future the crowd crypto space. Unfortunately, I don't really have enough time in the scope of this presentation to talk about that in huge detail. But the DAT coin that we have has gone up about 4% in the 400% in the last couple of years. And the reason for that is that we have some phenomenal plans for our coin. And like I say, we have regular price increases, actually one coming at midnight tonight. So we're rewarding people that join the business and the coin a little bit earlier. So very much showing a phenomenal rate of return in terms of growth on those prices. You should also see us being talked about a lot more in the press in the near future. We're anticipating listing the business on the London Stock Exchange in the next 6 to 12 months. So some phenomenal things happening in the business. I've actually only worked for Daxi since earlier this year, and even in that short amount of time, phenomenal things happening each and every day. So one of the things I think we've got to focus on for people that are new to crypto is the security of that digital experience. I'm old enough to remember when online banking came in and was being talked about. And obviously it was very weird to think that you would no longer be walking down the high street to talk to the nice lady behind the till. So obviously for people that are getting involved online, it's very key to look at what the security is from a platform point of view. And one of the ways you can do that is look at the independent rating we have through the Mozilla Observatory. You can Google it, you can find it. And any time, day or night, you can check on a live basis any website in the world and how secure it is. So we're rated A+, which is the highest rating you can get. We're rated higher than many of the other exchanges. And actually, if you start comparing it to some of the high street online experiences from high street banks in the UK, you'll be quite shocked. When I first did it, I had 2 UK bank accounts and one rated an F and one rated a B. So again, really key for just demonstrating the security of that online experience. So there's 2 things that Daxi offers. The first is that we have our blue chip bundle. So if anyone that uses the platform, they're always buying coins in their own name and they're held on the platform. It looks very much like an online banking app, and I'll show you a few screenshots in a second. So if you participate in the bundle, whatever you put on the platform will be used to purchase 50% Bitcoin, 20% Ethereum, 10% Litecoin, and 20% Datcoin. That, of course, they're all coins that are held in your own account in your own name. We do allow people to buy under their own name or through their company. And the other thing we've got is our pure DAC pack purchase. So for our DAC community coin, which as I mentioned, has gone up 400% over the last couple of years, you can also just buy that in its own right. So you have many people that buy into one program and then come back and do the other, or split between the 2, which is fine. And look, hugely popular programs have both shown phenomenal growth so far, which is fantastic. So one of the reasons we are so focused on that split of coins, this is some data on how that's performed year to date, so since the 1st of January. So there's lots of people interested in crypto just by Bitcoin, and that's great. There's lots of people that are truly passionate about Bitcoin. So in terms of the growth that you would have seen, Bitcoin would have gone up 44%. The DAC pack up to the 1st of July would have risen by 88%, which obviously I imagine got some very happy platform users. And by July the 15th, which obviously we're coming up to just now, that will have risen 116%. So some great growth rates, and the reason why that many of our platform users are switching some of their cash to crypto. So the buying process is very simple. Obviously, we've been in lockdown now in the UK for I think 16, 17 weeks, something like that. And we've done very well from that lockdown period. We've had a couple of record months, which is fantastic. So you can actually purchase purely from home. You don't need to leave the house. It's a purely digital online experience. So you upload your ID, or Know Your Customer documents, which is a requirement of the FCA. So you need to come up with some photographic ID, either a passport or driving license, and then a proof of address such as utilities bill, which is dated within the last 3 months. That's uploaded. You would pass that process through our security checks. You can then fund your account and enjoy. So purely online, and looks very much like an online banking app, and is very easy to use, and was designed in-house by us. So look, this is intended to be an introduction. We try and keep these presentations quite short, just to introduce some of the themes you might be interested in looking at. And often people are just seeking to educate themselves on a really well-performing asset. So we thoroughly recommend you engage with all the learning that we provide. There's huge amounts of free resources via Daxi, whether it's live webinars, recorded webinars, our ebooks, all the content on our websites, all our social media. There's a huge amount of information. A great starting point is the Crypto Boom ebook that I've mentioned, very short, digestible read. And also the Daxi Blue Paper, which talks in a lot more detail about our community coin, what it's intended to do, and the phenomenal ecosystem that we're building. And we do also have a lot of webinar content around that. So again, please do reach out to the person that introduced you. We have stacks of online events. We broadcast every day at Daxi, so you can pick and choose what content you would like to look at. And we're the only crypto business that's really putting experts and business leaders out there, so you can talk to them live and post questions. But of course, do talk to the person that introduced you to Daxi. We're very much a community. So if you have specific questions or want to access information, you can do so. So look, that brings me up to my 25 minutes that I try and talk. I'm just going to pause my recording now, just so my live attendees can ask questions. So for those who listen again, thanks for attending, and see you online soon.